What really went down during the live stream, the shocking fate of the man who died. It was the fateful night when the world paused, glued to their screens, hearts pounding, as chaos unfolded in a small room bursting with flickering lights. An innocuous live stream, a game night, they thought, quickly spiraled into something far darker. The chat exploded with frantic messages, viewers whispering fears and suspicions. Did they truly witness a death? Or was it all part of some twisted act? A desperation pervaded the air, excitement turned to horror faster than a heartbeat. In the dim-lit space, shadows danced across the faux wood walls, revealing an unsettling truth. The night started with laughter, friends sharing familiar jests as they settled into their chairs, each face illuminated by the glow of the screen. But then, the atmosphere shifted. The air tingled, sparking an unease that clung to the viewers like wet clothes. One man went pale, his laughter fading into an eerie silence. A cold sweat speckled his brow. The sound of something cracking echoed through the feed. Viewers felt their hearts race, bracing for what came next. Suddenly, the tension escalated, a sharp intake of breath, a hand flying to the throat. What had started as a light-hearted evening was rapidly turning to something grotesque. Cameras zoomed in, capturing every frightful detail, the glimmer in his eye replaced by a vacant stare. Shocked gasps echoed in the comments from a collective audience, whispers of disbelief tangled in the stream. Is this real? Someone call for help. The tension surged as the room held its breath, waiting. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just as quickly as fear gripped the hearts of those watching, a sudden stillness engulfed the stream. The whispers grew louder, the tension crackling like the air before a storm. The chat began to swirl with desperate speculation. What happened next twisted the narrative. A shockwave rippled through the crowd, echoing through the darkened room. The lights flickered ominously, and the screen went black for a heartbeat that stretched into eternity. What had truly transpired in that haunting moment? Was it really a cry for help, or something far more sinister? The darkness hung heavy over the screen, and the viewers sat frozen, many gripping their phones, fingers trembling. The chat exploded into chaos, a virtual battleground of confusion and fear. What just happened? Did he really die? Some even suggested it was a prank, another layer of horror woven into the night, seconds stretched into what felt like hours. Then, a soft light returned, illuminating the room once more. The friends huddled together, their expressions now a mix of disbelief and shock. But where was the man who had collapsed? The chilling silence echoed, swallowed by the noise of frenzied typing. Just then, one of the friends, Jessica, moved to the lifeless body on the floor. Her hands shook, covering her mouth as if afraid to disturb the eerie calm. Call 911. Someone shouted. Panic shot through the chat again. Is this some sick joke? Please tell me this is all staged. But the ominous reality seeped through. The laughter, the jokes, it all felt grotesque now, a distant memory of innocence corroded by the chilling sight before them. Jessica knelt beside him, her voice quaking, please, wake up. But all she received in response was darkness. As the camera zoomed in on their faces, dread filled their eyes, a literal reflection of fear that the viewers could see and feel across the digital divide. Out of nowhere, the lights dimmed again, and the air in the room grew thick, oppressive. It was then that someone noticed an unsettling detail. The clock on the wall, ticking steadily, now read a different time, hours ahead of where it should have been. What the hell? Yelled Mark, another friend. The room erupted in noise, their confusion turning to panic as they realized the enormity of the situation. Suddenly, the feed began to skip, an unusual glitch that warped their expressions. Each blink, each gasp echoed back to the audience tenfold, a reminder that they were witnessing something they never should have. "Get him out of there!" someone screamed in the comments. "He needs help." But as the friends fumbled in terror, it became clear that there was more at play than just an accident. Then, like a lightning strike, a figure appeared in the darkness of the room, eyes shining with malice. The camera caught the shimmer of something metallic in his hand, a knife. Heartbeats raced, both behind the screen and in the room. The friends' faces shifted from shock to horror, mouth agape. The chat exploded once more, a whirlwind of accusations, fear, and disbelief. Intense whispers filled the space, drowning out the thread of reason. "What have we done? This can't be happening." Jessica's voice trembled, as the reality of their actions hit her. The live stream wasn't just entertainment anymore, it had morphed into an unholy spectacle. In one last desperate act, someone lunged toward the figure, a shadowy embodiment of their greatest fears. The screen went momentarily black again, and just before it faded, a chilling echo could be heard, "You shouldn't have come here," and then, silence. The viewers waited breathlessly, wondering if they had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. Who was that figure, and what had become of the man lying helpless on the floor? Did real danger lurk behind the cameras, or was this all a facade? The uncertainty blended with anxiety, preparing the audience for the inevitable truths that promised to unfurl. What had they unleashed, and could they stop it before it spiraled into darkness? The chilling question loomed, leaving everyone on edge, desperate for answers. The room felt suffocating, every breath heavy with weight. The friends were locked in a trance of terror, the figure remained like a sentinel of dread. Silence lingered for a moment, stretching taut like a thin wire. Then, the darkness pulsated alive again, flickering lights revealing a gruesome tableau. Jessica's heart raced as the figure stepped closer, knife glinting under the dim light. "What do you want?" she whimpered, voice barely above a whisper. His grin was unsettling, twisted, it sent shivers down her spine. The viewers felt that shiver too, their hearts synchronized with hers as they typed furiously, begging for answers. "Run! Get out of there!" But the camera focused on the figure, locking eyes with him, feeding on their fear. He leaned down, his voice dripping with malice. "You wanted to see a show? This is your final act." In that moment, the air shifted. A pulse of raw energy crackled, and echoes of past screams lingered around them. Mark, face pale, stuttered out, You're him, aren't you? The one from the stories?" The horror dawned upon them. This wasn't just an audience prank. This was something else entirely. The chat erupted again, "It's real. Someone call the police." But nobody moved, they were glued, suspense gripping them like a vice. The friends exchanged terrified glances, trying to fathom the entity standing before them. Suddenly, the lights blinked violently, and for a fraction of a second, they flickered out fully. Utter darkness descended, a cold void that swallowed them alive. The viewers' screams on chat morphed into a frenzy of frantic messages, but just like that, they were silenced. When the lights flared back on, the figure stood poised, knife glistening with newfound purpose. Jessica gasped as she noticed something staggering. A live stream notification popped onto the feed, "New viewer joined. Welcome." "Who?" But before she could finish, the figure turned sharply, making a gesture as if to welcome the newcomer. Fear clawed at their throats as the friends realized a chilling truth. This wasn't just for them, it was for someone far worse. In a panic, they turned toward the door, but it swung closed with a deafening thud. "What is happening?" Jessica cried, breathing heavily as the walls seemed to close in, the atmosphere thickening. The room felt transformed into a cage. Loud thuds echoed from behind the door, and someone screamed. They couldn't tell who it was, but the voice echoed like doom, branching into the dark corners of their minds. "We have to get out. It's a trap." Just then, the figure laughed, a low, haunting sound that sent chills racing down every spine. "Oh, you think it ends here? This is just the beginning." His eyes glinted dangerously. "The games have only just started." The friends huddled closer, hearts pounding as panic washed over them. Suddenly, Mark pulled out his phone, panicked fingers racing over the screen. "We can't be the only ones who see this. We need to stream this live." "What? No!" Jessica screamed. "Don't you get it? It'll put us in even more danger." But it was too late. The feed went live, broadcasting their frantic faces to countless viewers. The chat lit up again, confusion blending into horror as the new reality began to sink in. "What do we do?" Someone yelled. The figure stepped forward, knife glinting ominously. "You'll play my game or you won't leave at all." As whispers filled the room, the lights flickered once more, leaving the friends uncertain if this was the end or just an escalation of their nightmare. The audience watched in horrified fascination, unsure if they were witnesses or accomplices. The looming question was whether they could outsmart the darkness now closing in around them. What had they awakened, and could they escape before it consumed them whole? Just as Jessica gripped Mark's arm tightly, her heart racing, a final chilling whisper echoed, "Every show demands a sacrifice." The tension thickened, a palpable force that pressed in around them. Jessica's breath caught in her throat as the figure walked closer, his dark silhouette absorbing the flickering light. She could feel the weight of his gaze, piercing right through her. They were trapped, and dread seeped into her bones. "Game time," he said, his voice a slithering hiss that echoed off the walls. Mark clenched his phone, the only barrier between them and the unknown. The chat stream had transformed into a rabid animal, scrolling furiously. "Who is still there? You're dead meat. Someone help them." But help felt like a distant dream. The friends were on their own, cornered in their own nightmare. The figure twirled the knife, and it shimmered wickedly like a stolen star longing to snuff out lives. Jessica forced herself to look around at her friends, searching their eyes for strength. But all she saw were reflections of fear. "We need to find a way out," she yelled, desperation rising in her voice. She whipped around, ramming into the door, but it held firm, mocking them with its silence. "Stop! He wants us to panic," Mark shouted, pacing as best as the cramped space allowed. "Let us think." But where was the logic in this horror? What is there to think about? Jessica shot back, sweat dripping down her temple. "We'll die." "No." His voice dropped to a whisper, eyes darting toward the figure. "We use the stream to our advantage." A wild idea flicked through Jessica's mind. What if we turn off the stream? If he wants an audience, showing him our fear could be part of his game. We may have to play his sick little game, but we can't lose ourselves. Shut it down. Mark seemed to consider, his brow crinkling. What if he is waiting for that? What if he... The figure interrupted, his laugh reverberating through the walls. "You think you can outsmart me? This is my theater. I am the playwright, director, and lead actor in this twisted play." He waved the knife dramatically, eyes sparkling with sadistic delight. The dark energy swirling around them felt like a cyclone, drawing them in deeper. The chat was going berserk. "Do something. You're all going to die. I can't watch anymore." The audience was either horrified or enthralled, each frantic message fueling the sinister air in the room. Fear ignited in Jessica's chest. "Listen," she yelled, "you don't get to control us. We are not your toys." The figure straightened, dark eyes flashing with fury. "Toys, you say? Such an entertaining perspective." He lifted the knife, pointing it at them with a snarl. "Let us see how much play you can take." With that, he lunged forward, and chaos erupted. The friends stumbled back, adrenaline surging as Jessica grabbed Mark's arm, pulling him towards the far wall. They needed a plan, fast. Streams of despair flooded from the viewers, but the only emotion that mattered was their shared terror. "Dare I surprise you again?" The figure's voice boomed, his very presence an electric charge. Bursts of laughter ricocheted off the walls, drowning Jessica in the noise of a nightmarish carnival. Without thinking, Jessica shouted, "Stop. I know what you want. You want us to feel fear. You want us to play along." The figure paused, and for a moment, confusion flickered across his twisted features. Clever girl, but fear cannot be turned off. The laughter ceased abruptly, replaced by eerie silence. The friends exchanged glances of disbelief, that momentary flicker of rebellion igniting something within them. They could fight. They wouldn't let him win without a struggle. As the figure inched closer, knife glinting, Mark braced himself and shouted, "We are more than you think." At that instant, the lights quivered around them, dimming into darkness once more. Just before everything faded out, Jessica felt something cold and metallic brush against her hand, a key. The scream echoed again, this time louder, multiplying the intensity, revealing it was coming not just from behind the door, but surrounding them. With fear slicing through her heart, she realized that whatever was about to happen next would define their fate. What door would they unlock? And who or what had they truly invited into their lives? The darkness thickened, and as fear clung to their throats, the fragile thread of hope began to fray. The darkness engulfed them, a heavy blanket of unseen dread. Jessica's hand clutched the cold metal of the key, but its significance felt lost amid the chaotic whirlpool of their impending doom. The swirling shadows swallowed sound, leaving only the far-off echoes of screams that pulsed through her mind like a metronome of fear. "What is this?" Mark's voice whispered, trembling as he fiddled nervously with his phone, light flickering weakly. Jessica's heartbeat quickened, not from excitement but from the sheer weight of their reality. The figure's laughter had vanished, replaced by a deafening silence that pressed down on them like a vice. "We can't stay here," Jessica hissed, her eyes darting around, desperately searching for a way out. She could almost feel the figure's malevolent presence, breathing down their necks even in the darkness. "We have to try the key. What if it doesn't work?" A voice behind them, Sarah, quivered. "What if it leads us to then we'll deal with it?" Jessica snapped, her resolve hardening like steel. They were shackled by fear as much as by the walls. "We need to fight back. If this is a game, then we're not playing by his rules." With shaking fingers, she reached the door, breath hitching in her throat. Her heart drummed wildly, the metallic taste of panic flooding her senses. She couldn't afford to give in. "Not now." "Let me," Mark said, summoning deep breaths as he stepped forward. "You try to find the lock. I'll keep an eye." The silence almost laughed at their efforts, taunting their bravery. Jessica found the door's edges, chilling metal pressing against her fingertips. She felt the groove where the key had to go. Once the key was in position, nothing felt more pivotal. "Ready?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yeah," he said, his eyes wide, scanning the shadows for movement. With a deep breath, she twisted the key, the sound of metal grinding against metal sending chills up her spine. The door jerking open felt like the sudden release of a pressure valve. Before she could even process the thought of freedom, a surge of light burst forth as the door swung wide, nearly blinding her. The room beyond was a nightmarish carnival, a warped reflection of reality. Broken mirrors lined the walls, and the faint glow of neon lights projected ghostly shadows. Jessica squinted, her heart racing as she glimpsed figures moving in the reflections, their faces twisted in horror, mouths wide with silent screams. What is this?" Mark gasped, his feet glued to the spot, eyes darting nervously from mirror to mirror, as if the truth might leap out at them. "An escape?" Jessica whispered, blood pounding in her ears. "Or a trap?" Just then, the laughter came back. Not the figure's laugh, but a familiar echo, a cacophony of mocking resonance, friends she knew from school, now reflections in the mirrors. Their faces were smeared with fear, distorted by panic, trapped like them. "Jessica!" One of them screamed, "Run! He's coming!" The words pulled at her. Every instinct screamed to turn and flee, but the magnetic pull of the reflections held her. You're stuck here. You need to get out. She called back, but her voice felt weak against the clamoring crowd, a sinking realization gripping her. Leave us! Shrieked another distorted face, agony radiating through every syllable. Mark's face paled, and he grabbed Jessica's arm. Let us go. He urged, steering her back toward the door. But as they tried to retreat, the door slammed shut before them, the harsh click echoing like a nail in a coffin. The laughter intensified around them, morphed into a menacing chorus surrounding their reality. And then, without warning, the lights flickered and dimmed, plunging them into a deeper darkness, one that felt alive and hungry. Jessica's chest tightened, the walls pulsating as shadows danced. Jessica! Mark yelled, his voice splintering under tension. What is happening? She felt something cold brush against her ankle, a whisper of laughter in the void. An icy realization hit her, they weren't playing his game, they were the entertainment. Get ready, she said, fear and determination racing through her veins. Whatever comes next, we face it together. As the madness spiraled around them, a single thought sliced through the chaos: the darkness had been drawn to their fear like moths to a flame. And for the first time, they weren't just fleeing this time, they'd respond, but would it be enough? The shadows coalesced, forming into something distinctly threatening. And as a deafening noise erupted like the clap of thunder, Jessica found herself wondering who would survive the next act of this terrible play. Would they finally untangle themselves from the web of horror, or plunge deeper into the abyss? The thundering noise surged around them, rattling Jessica's bones as the lights flickered back to life, only to reveal the twisted funhouse in stark detail. The gaudy neon colors morphed grotesquely, and a cacophony of laughter echoed from every direction, blending with the haunting cries of their friends trapped in the mirrors. Stay close! Jessica shouted, breaking through the shrill echoes, gripping Mark's arm tightly. They moved deeper into the nightmarish maze, aware that something was hunting them, and the shadows seemed to pulse with life. Where do we go? Mark panted, panic sparking in his voice. This isn't just a trap. It's a trap designed for us. I don't know, but we'll find a way out, I promise. Jessica replied, steeling her resolve as they dodged the creeping darkness. The reflections in the mirrors shifted, the faces of their friends contorting into expressions of despair. One by one, they mouthed urgent words: leave. Don't look back. But how could they abandon those they once lived alongside? The thought nearly sent Jessica into a spiral of doubt. Look! Mark cried, pointing to an archway in the distance. Through it, a swirling fog beckoned, a promise of escape or another sinister game. Let us go. Jessica urged, her heart thudding like a drum, pulling Mark toward the archway. They stumbled through the tangle of broken glass and shattered dreams, their footsteps echoing loudly against the mockery of silence. As they reached the mist, the colors shifted again, lobby doors, lifeless and hollow, creaking open. But before they could pass through, a loud crash rang out, and the figures in the mirrors erupted into audible screams, their frantic faces shifting with agony. One reflection's eyes turned hollow, staring right at Jessica as if it could see her soul. Stay back! Mark shouted suddenly, halting them both. It was as if instinct took hold, a primal understanding that danger lurked just beyond the mist. He tightened his grip on Jessica, trying to peel her gaze away from the hundreds of faces pressing against the glass, desperate and distorted. What if Jessica started, but Mark cut her off? No. We need the key to keep going. You still have it, right? Jessica nodded, though her stomach twisted. She wrestled to remember how that simple key could unlock not just doors, but the sinister reality surrounding them. The applauding shadows swelled, and with it, the laughter morphed into a dark symphony, surrounding them with an intent that felt suffocating. Was it the caress of resignation they felt, or a challenge that made them tremble? You opened the door, Jessica. Mark shouted above the growing madness, his eyes glistening with urgency. Now we have to face whatever waits behind the door we see next. You created the way, believe it. The proclamation echoed through the hall, reverberating with strength. It sent a wave coursing through her, lighting a spark she thought extinguished. But then came the laughter again, a sinister sound, mingled with a whispering voice that seemed to float through the mist. "Jessica, come play." Jessica shook her head, horror creeping into her veins. "No, we can't. We won't play that game." "Together," Mark said, gripping her hand tighter, "we can fight it." They turned to the swirling fog anew, the vision of freedom inching closer. Jess took a slow, stealing breath. She felt the weight of the key grounding her, igniting her once more. But the shadows began to stretch, twisting and curling toward them, hungry and maw-like. The air grew thick and electric, pulsing with charged dread. As they stepped forward, the air crackled, and the whole room shuddered, shaking with unbridled chaos around them. With every step, the laughter crescendoed, turning into a violent roar. In that very moment, they stumbled upon the reflection of a new door, cloaked in shadow and uncertainty. Could it be an escape, or a harbinger of something far more sinister? "Are you ready?" Mark whispered, his voice trembling. "Let us find out. Whatever's behind that door, we face it." The world around them disintegrated into shadows as they charged toward the door. But just as they reached for the handle, a slow clap echoed, resonating through the very marrow of their beings. "Well done, brave souls. But you have a choice to make now. Choose wisely." Jessica froze, uncertainty gnawing at her as an unseen force tightened around her, squeezing the breath from her lungs. What mission awaited them on the other side? Will this truly be our salvation or our demise? The door creaked slowly open, revealing a blinding light that swallowed everything. But just before they could step ahead, she heard a chilling whisper, "The game has just begun." Jessica squinted against the bright light that spilled from the creaking door. It felt like the sun itself had taken a sinister form, ready to consume them whole. The moment teetered between hope and dread, and she hesitated, one foot hovering at the threshold. "Go," Mark urged, his voice cutting through the thick silence like a knife. He tugged at her, pulling her closer, but she felt as if an invisible weight had latched onto her soul, rooting her in place. With a trembling hand, she reached for the doorknob, fingers grazing the cold metal. An electric shock ran through her, causing her to jerk back. What if this is it? What if we're walking into the worst of it? Panic surged back in, clawing at her throat. Mark looked at her, eyes fierce yet tender, a mix of fear and determination radiating from him. "We can't stay here. Whatever's behind this door, together we can face it, just like we've faced everything else." Taking a deep breath, Jessica finally grasped the handle. She gave it a twist, and as she pushed the door open, an overwhelming sound erupted. A symphony of blaring horns, joyous screams, and ominous whispers merged into a maddening cacophony. They stepped inside, not prepared for the absurdity that awaited. Bright gold carnival lights adorned a massive circus tent, casting shadows that danced like phantoms on the ground. The air was heavy with the smell of popcorn, sweat, and something metallic that made her stomach churn. "Where are we?" she whispered, a lump forming in her throat. "Looks like a nightmare carnival, and we're the main act," Mark replied, eyeing a stage at the far end where a clown with a painted grin stood, wielding a microphone as if it were a sword. "Welcome." The clown boomed, making the misty tent tremble. "You've played the game so well. But now it's time for the grand finale." Jessica clutched Mark's arm tightly, her breath coming in fast and shallow bursts. The shadows seemed to ripple around the clown as he spoke, their own laughter intertwining with the melody of fear. "It's not just a game. It's a choice. There are truths that must be revealed." The clown gestured to another door, dim and foreboding, lurking next to the bright stage lights. "Through that door lies a truth. Your truth. Will you dare take that step?" Mark's eyes darted to the door and back to the clown, a mixture of excitement and terror twisting his features. "We have to find out what that is, Jess. Whatever it may be, we can't hide anymore." "But what if?" Jessica began, but he cut her off. "No more what ifs. The fear from the last door can't control us. Trust the key. As the clown continued to cackle, the sounds of their friends' cries echoed in Jessica's mind. We have to save them. They need us. The clown's laughter dimmed, and he leaned closer, his voice low and conspiratorial. Oh, sweet Jessica, your friends are part of the game, aren't they? What price are you willing to pay to save them? Her heart raced as she realized the gravity of his words. She exchanged a look with Mark, the shared understanding thick between them. Did they even know what this game truly meant? Let us take that leap, Mark urged, eyes shining with unyielding courage. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. Jessica nodded, a newfound resolve blossoming in her chest, but doubt clawed at her gut. They stepped toward the door. With each step, the voices of their friends faded into whispers, replaced by the dark, honeyed promise of the unknown, but as the clown called after them with a sinister grin, remember. In the carnival of truth, not everything is as it seems. Their grip on each other tightened, hearts pounding against the thrill of uncertainty. The door swung wide, ready to swallow them whole. Would they step into salvation, or would it be their undoing? As the door closed behind them, a high-pitched laugh echoed through the void, whispering dark echoes that sent chills down Jessica's spine. The next truth awaits, and it will change everything. The moment Jessica and Mark stepped through the door, sensations washed over them like rogue waves crashing onto a fragile shore. The darkness enveloped them, a suffocating embrace that stung their skin. Instinct pushed them closer together, their bodies barely separating as they made their way forward, glancing back at the fading light of the carnival behind them. Where are we? Jessica managed to breathe out, her voice trembling. Before her stood a narrow hallway lined with flickering bulbs that buzzed ominously. A thick haze filled the air, the odor of smoke and something sweet yet sickly. Sharp shadows darted around, twisting and shifting, taunting her senses. Mark leaned closer, his breath brushing against her ear. Maybe each step we take reveals more of what we need to know. You ready? No, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Yet, still, she nodded. The whispers of their friends, and the clown's chilling words echoed in her head. We can't fail them. They pushed ahead, heartbeats synchronized in dread. The hallway opened up into an expansive chamber enveloped in darkness. Strange shapes moved within the shadows, and Jessica squinted, trying to discern their forms. Suddenly, a spotlight flicked on, blinding them for a second before revealing a twisted diorama of twisted, distorted memories, marionettes hanging in midair, some representing moments of joy while others showed horrific scenes of sorrow and despair. Look! Mark pointed at one marionette, a figure resembling Jessica herself, its strings tangled and pulling it in every direction. That as he faltered, his voice trailing as the realization set in. Me? But how? Jessica's stomach twisted. She felt a pang of panic as her facade of strength began to crack, the marionette jerked, cut free from its strings, collapsing lifelessly to the floor. A surge of anger and fear coursed through her veins. Why are they doing this to us? A booming laugh echoed, and suddenly the clown emerged from the shadows, reveling in their confusion. Welcome to the Hall of Choices. Each puppet here embodies a choice you've made: the good, the bad, the ugly. It's all part of the show. What do you want from us? Jessica shouted, her voice cutting through the rising tension. The truth always demands a price, the clown replied, spinning on his toes, eyes gleaming maniacally. Face the truth about yourselves, and the way forward will unfold. Refuse it, and you'll remain forever lost in this twisted game. Jessica felt her heart plummet. This was no longer about saving their friends. It was about confronting the deepest parts of themselves. What if we refuse? Mark asked, defiance in his voice. Then you'll wander this hall, eternally trapped in your own untold stories, the clown hissed, twisting his mouth into an unsettling grin. Choose wisely, or suffer the consequences. A heavy silence fell between them. Each marionette seemed to watch, waiting, longing for their decisions. Jessica fought back the rising tide of despair. There had to be a way out. She glanced at Mark, whose eyes burned with determination. Together, she said, squeezing his hand once more. Together, he affirmed, resolve surging through his voice. As they stepped deeper into the hall, memories flashed before Jessica's eyes, faces of friends, regrets of past decisions, betrayals yet to be revealed. Each step felt heavier than the last, but they pushed on, an unyielding force against the invisible barrier of truth. Then they spotted a doorway at the end of the hall, leading into more darkness. It beckoned with a pull that made their skin crawl. Would it offer clarity or further confusion? The clown's voice rang out, a chorus of mockery. One truth will set you free, but will it be the truth you're willing to face? With a shared glance, they moved toward the door. As they reached for its cold handle, darkness swirled around them, and the echo of gentle, conspiratorial laughter filled the air. The next truth is one you've avoided, but remember, the light can blind as much as the dark. Would stepping through this door finally reveal their heart's true desires or shatter their very identities? The moment Jessica turned the handle, an unseen force jostled them forward, thrusting them into a new world. The air was sharp and chilling, a stark contrast to the suffocating darkness they had just escaped. They landed in a vast arena illuminated by bright, harsh light. They shielded their eyes, momentarily disoriented, but a low murmur grew around them. From the shadows emerged other figures, cloaked and gaunt, their hollow eyes locked onto Jessica and Mark. A chill ran down Jessica's spine as one stepped forward, raising a finger with a bony hand. Welcome, seekers of truth, it rasped, voice echoing ominously. You've entered the crucible of confrontation. Here, you will face your choices, each one laid bare before you. Confrontation? Mark repeated. What does that even mean? Before the figure could answer, twisted scenes erupted all around. Visuals of their past choices spiraled into place, Jessica's decision to ignore her friend's struggles, Mark's betrayal when he chose ambition over loyalty. They gasped as every decision, every regret, materialized into living snapshots, burning like vivid flames in their minds. Why are you showing us this? Jessica shouted, fear threading through her voice. The figure smiled, its smile a sinister crescent. To illuminate the shadows you've cast on yourselves. Every choice carries weight. You must choose which truth will guide you in this arena, or risk being crushed under the weight of your own decisions. Mark's clenched fists trembled. We can't be held accountable for our past mistakes. What do you want from us? The cloaked figure waved a hand, and a screen flickered to life. It displayed a series of statements, each echoing their deepest fears. You're not good enough, you will never escape your past, your friends hate you. Each word felt like a knife, sharper than the last, digging deeper. Jessica gritted her teeth. We're not here to dwell on our past. We're here to save our friends. Then face your truths, another voice called, a familiar one. Jessica turned and saw her friend, Sarah, standing in the audience, her face pale but fierce. You can't save anyone until you acknowledge what has been holding you back. Only then will you find the strength you need. Jessica's heart raced. Was Sarah's voice real? The arena warped with emotions, a reflection of their turmoil. It wasn't just about them, it was about the choices they made that affected everyone around them. Choose your truth now, the first figure demanded, advancing. You get one shot. Will you shatter the illusions and embrace the reality, or let the past chain you forever? A cacophony of whispers filled the air, each one echoing voices from their lives, reminding them of their choices, urging them to remember the feelings they had tried so desperately to escape. Every heartbeat echoed like a ticking clock, reminding them the decision had to be made soon. Jessica took a deep breath, looking at Mark with resolve. We can't let fear decide. We owe it to them and to ourselves to confront what we truly are. Mark nodded, his eyes reflecting a mixture of determination and dread. Together, let us embrace it. As they stood united in their shared commitment, shadows loomed, twisting and contorting around them. The arena surged, the ground trembling beneath their feet, ready to unleash the truths that had lingered too long in the dark, but suddenly, a deafening crash sounded, and the arena shook violently. Dark tendrils slithered from the shadows, snatching at their limbs. "Your time is almost up." The voices shrieked. Jessica looked toward the exit they had entered through. "This isn't just about us anymore," she cried out, desperation rippling through her. "What will happen to everyone if we fail?" The air thickened, pressing down like an impending storm, and the silhouettes shifted closer, threatening to engulf them. "Decide!" The figure yelled, the arena swirling with chaos as time slipped away. As they braced for the outcome, a blinding light enveloped them, leaving only one final question hanging in the air: could they truly face the darkness? Or would it swallow them whole? The light faded, revealing an arena alive with chaos. Jessica and Mark stood at its center, hearts racing, fear pulsing through them. "We have to face the truth," Mark yelled, his voice strong yet wavering. The air crackled, thick with waiting. Shadows stirred, forming monstrous shapes on the outskirts of their perception. "It's all or nothing," Jessica shouted, eyes darting to the swirling mass of doubts that threatened to engulf them. "We've got to believe in ourselves." "Together," Mark echoed, taking her hand tightly. In that moment, nothing else mattered. They were not retreating into fear, they were pushing forward into clarity. "Choose." The cloaked figure screeched, its voice reverberating through the tumultuous atmosphere. "The truth will set you free or bind you forever." With a deep breath, Jessica faced her past. "I might have hurt people," she intoned, her voice trembling, "but I can't let those mistakes define me." Each word felt both liberating and heavy. The shadows twisted angrily, hissing, but the resolve in her heart began to shine like a beacon. "I won't live in fear of the pain I've caused," she continued, her voice growing stronger. "I've been a coward," Mark yelled, his shoulders squared with determination. "But I won't let fear steer my actions anymore. I choose empathy over ambition." As each confession surged forth, the shadows recoiled, as if lashed by unseen winds of truth. For a moment, the cloaked figure froze, eyes widening in disbelief. Jessica felt a rush, the air changing, weight lifting from her shoulders. "That's it, keep going," came Sarah's voice from the throng of onlookers, a chorus she didn't know she needed echoing within her. "Your fears lose their power when brought to light." Another voice called out, more friends joining in, emboldening the couple. As confessions flowed, the swirling darkness began to recede. The twisted memories contorted into something less sinister. Jessica's heart raced. "We can save them. We can be better. We choose love. We choose forgiveness," Mark asserted, hand tightly clasped with hers. "Together, we're stronger." With renewed strength, they faced the chaotic shadows. "Drop your binds," Jessica shouted. "We are not your puppets." A piercing shriek erupted from the cloaked figure. "No. You cannot." Bright lights flashed, illuminating the arena as the shadows unraveled, clumping together and dissolving into wisps of smoke. The cloaked figure staggered, consumed by light, screams dissipating into dust. The audience erupted in a cacophony of applause as the arena shifted dramatically, the surrounding chaos replaced by warmth. Friends flooded toward them, beams of light radiating through the once oppressive darkness. Jessica, Mark, Sarah rushed to embrace them, tears glistening in her eyes. "You did it. You faced the truth." Jessica felt a wave of relief wash over her, escaping years of guilt and regret. "What now?" Mark asked, scanning their surroundings, where darkness once threatened to snuff them out. "Now, we rebuild," Sarah said, her eyes bright. "We face the aftermath of our choices with courage, not shame. We learn." For the first time in what felt like forever, hope surged within Jessica. "Yeah, we push forward. No more running from our mistakes," she declared, sharing a determined look with Mark. "We'll honor the truth." In solidarity, arms entwined, laughter began to bubble up, breaking the air thick with tension. Together, they stepped forward, leaving behind the remnants of fear, stepping into a bright world awaiting their arrival. The chaos had subsided, replaced by unity of purpose. The carnival was behind them, and as they began rebuilding, the meaning of the journey resonated in their hearts. "Never forget how powerful our choices can be," Mark said, glancing at Jessica. "We own them now." As the last remnants of shadows vanished, laughter mingled with cries of freedom. They embraced every moment while promising to be true to themselves and each other, no matter the journey that lay ahead. With newfound clarity, they lost themselves in celebration. The darkness was gone, leaving room for a brighter path. This was not just an end, but a powerful beginning. Don't let this moment fade. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and share your love for this journey. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this wave of hope and redemption. Your commitment can inspire them.